for the past couple of days, even during those holidays, which was last week, we saw that gold still continued to climb into these previous highs here. So that's important for us to note that on the daily time frame, we're approaching these previous highs where we did see some sort of strong pullback, which we can see right here on the daily time frame. But let's start off by marking off a few areas. So we're gonna mark off this daily high around here, and then let's dive right into the 4 hour because we don't see much on the daily there. But on the 4 hour, we can see pretty much that this daily time frame, it's these previous highs right here, which again we saw very strong sell-off from this area. So again, we're gonna keep that in mind. Let's mark off these highs around the 42.55s on the 4 hour. I'm gonna move this down slightly because we can see that this previous support here at the 42.25s, we'll call it, is actually also this previous high that we created here just a few hours ago. And it's important again for us to note because it's where we saw these strong sellers coming in from this candle here, and we saw strong sellers also coming in during this 4 hour here. So again, previous support. Now we'll see in the next 2 hours and 47 minutes if we'll actually close bearish, and we'll be able to confirm this as a new resistance. But I'm assuming that we're also going to have a zone around these areas, just kind of based off these wicks here that we're seeing, and around the, I guess you could say, a little bit of the pushback from buyers that we're seeing, just kind of based off the wick that you have on this candle right now. But I'm also going to mark off these previous highs, which also lines up with where this wick came to. So it was around the 41.92s where this wick came. It created this low, and then buyers stepped in aggressively and pushed back on this area. So let's look at this on the 1 hour and clear this up one more time. So yeah, you can see on the 1 hour, it is a lot more clear how this 42.25 area, which we were just talking about on the 4 hour, it is more of a resistance. Again, previous support broke below that area, and then we now started to get rejections off that area. Resistance was created here and confirmed for us. And again, around this area, we don't know just yet, but you can see in the past, around the 42.13s, 42.14s is where we had this sort of high get created, a low, a bit of a support got created here before we had this strong push into the 42.55s. Okay, so again, we're reacting just around that area. We'll leave that marked for now. And so that leaves us with a few scenarios, right? The current fundamental narrative is more on the bullish side, but again, we cannot ignore these intraday movements. We can see very clearly on the intraday timeframes right now, after price had this strong push towards the upside into the 42.55s like we just mentioned, we created this double top pattern here, as we can see, sort of a resistance, and then we had this strong sell-off. And after that strong sell-off, we can see that these new lows started to get created, and then we didn't get any sort of new highs, right? If we would have gotten new highs, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But the fact that price came and created this high at the 42.40s, and then we started to actually break below these previous structure points, then that's where things start to change. That's where you start to see a bit of a shift in structure, at least for now, on the 1 hour, and especially once we can start to get below this area, right? So that leaves us with a few trade ideas just right there. Looking at just the market structure, right? We can see sells most likely possible below the 42.12s. So we'll be on the lookout for those. And then if we start to get some pullbacks, again, it could be around these areas. We can get some pullbacks likely into the 42.26s, and then possible continuations from there to continue bearish from an intraday perspective. If we get above that area, then again, we have to be on the lookout for continued buys, at least up into the 42.40s, more or less, we'll call it around that. And then if we can just maintain above that, then it's possible that we are just gonna kind of trade back into these highs. So we'll change the color there to kind of note the difference. We can also mark this area as a previous high. We don't even have to put it as like a strong zone. but we'll be able to note it and then see how that turns out. All right, guys. So I'll catch you guys on the next video. Take care, everybody.